Hello coffee friends, my name is Tom from Tom's Coffee Corner. And today we're going to look at something pretty cool, and that is a comparison between the Delonghi Dedica and the Sage or Breville Bambino. This one in particular is the Bambino Plus, which is slightly more expensive than the regular Bambino. This one comes with a sensor for automatically frothing the milk. But otherwise, the Bambino Plus is similar to the Bambino. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at both of these machines, check out their similarities and their differences, and do a demo towards the end. And the point of this video is I'd really like to just show these two machines for the people who are kind of on the fence trying to decide, do I want the Dedica or do I want the Bambino? What are the differences and which one is better for me? So write down in the comment section down below after you've seen this video and let me know which one you think is the winner. Alright, so before I go any further, check out the description box down below. I will put links for both of these machines so that you can check them out for yourself. Alright, so let's just get right on into it. I want to start by talking about materials. So the Delonghi Dedica is made out of a lot of stainless steel. So the sides are stainless steel. You can see it's magnetic. The top is also stainless steel, it's magnetic, and the base here is made out of plastic. The Bambino, on the other hand, is also got a top made out of stainless steel, and the sides are stainless steel as well. So far, we're pretty similar. Even the portafilters are similar. So here on the Delonghi, you've got an aluminum portafilter, and on the inside, you've got plastic. Likewise, on the Bambino, you've also got a portafilter, and it's made out of aluminum here on the end, and it's got, again, plastic on the inside. Let's check out the differences in weight between these portafilters. So the Delonghi Dedica weighs 295 grams. The Bambino weighs 359 grams. So this is a good amount heavier. It does feel nicer in your hand. And also it's got this dimple on the back, and that is just really nice for gripping. So I do much prefer this portafilter over the Dedica. The Sage portafilter is also a little bigger. This one is, it's advertised at 54 millimeters. I measure 53.2. The Delonghi Dedica is advertised as 51, and we do have 51.0. So this one is a bit smaller, while this one is a bit larger. Now, one last important thing I'd like to say about portafilters before we move on is that the Delonghi Dedica comes with this portafilter and with baskets that are pressurized, whereas the Bambino, depending on the market you're in, comes with either pressurized baskets or non-pressurized. So in Europe, you can get non-pressurized baskets that come with your Bambino, and I believe in North America, they're pressurized. Here you will see that right there is a standard basket with a lot of holes, whereas the Dedica has got just the one hole on the bottom. However, there is an equalizer. You can get baskets all over the internet that are unpressurized for the Delonghi Dedica. And these cost anywhere between, let's say, $5 or $10, all the way up to $40 for a fancy IMS basket, which is what I'm running right here. I've got this really nice Normcore portafilter that I got off of Amazon, and it's got the IMS basket inside. So that is really a good equalizer when it comes to the portafilter. So why did I talk so much about the portafilter and the baskets? Well, because that is one of the really main important factors to consider when you're making espresso. Let's move on to some similarities that these machines both have. So they both have, as you can see here, volumetric dosing. So that's super nice, and that is a feature that was normally reserved for machines much more expensive, but both of these have water counters inside, and for that reason you can program either a single espresso or a double espresso volumetrically. That is super nice. They also both come with steam wands. What I do prefer on the Dedica is that it's got here a lever type, so that you can just flip the lever when you want to have steam, whereas on the Bambino you have to press a button for steam. So I do prefer the haptic feedback and the feathering that you can do with the lever, but this works as well. Something else that they both have in common are tiny, tiny drip trays. So you can see This is the drip tray right here for the Delonghi. That's pretty minuscule. And this is the drip tray for the Bambino. That's also very, very small. And that's particularly small due to a difference in operation. This machine has a 3-way solenoid valve, which means that after the espresso extraction, a valve cuts off pressure to the brew group and allows the pressure to move back through down here and into the drip tray. And that's good because then you release pressure on your puck. But what it does is it always puts water down into this tiny drip tray, so you have to empty this out very often. The Delonghi Dedica has no 3-way valve, and so it keeps dripping after the espresso extraction. I just put a little cup underneath to catch the last drops. Okay, another difference between these two machines is the size of the water tank. Here you can see on the Bambino, you can fit 1900 milliliters, whereas here on the Delonghi Dedica, it's only 1.1 liter. So that's a good amount more here. The Bambino, by the way, does have one advantage. It's got a float in here, so that tells the machine when you're low on water. That's great. The Delonghi Dedica has no low water sensor, so sometimes if you're not paying attention, it may be the case that you're pulling an espresso and you run out of water, and that's kind of annoying. Okay, let's talk about differences in regards to dimensions. So one of the main selling points of the Delonghi Dedica is how small it is. This is only 150 millimeters wide, about 310 millimeters tall, and with the portafilter, it is 440 millimeters deep. So this is going to fit just about anywhere. This will fit in most kitchens. This is going to fit in tiny dorm rooms, studio apartments. That's wonderful. The Sage Bambino is also pretty small, but it is a good amount wider. This one is more like 200 millimeters in width. It is 305 millimeters in height, and in depth also 440 millimeters. So very similar. I'll put them next to each other. So very similar in all dimensions except for width. Okay, so a couple more points to mention about differences between these machines, and one of them is steaming. So you can steam well on the Delonghi Dedica. You just have to remove the panarello, and in this case I added a cable tie so that this nozzle doesn't fly off. And then you can steam and texture milk really well. The Bambino, on the other hand, is an amazing steamer. This is one of the nicest steamers that I have ever tried. So that's a pretty big difference. This has got like a proper latte art type steam wand. It's got a 4-hole tip, and it even auto purges after you steam milk. So that's very convenient. So I would say for sure the Bambino is nicer for steaming, but it does come at a price, and that's another difference between these two. In Europe, you can get this one for somewhere around 150, whereas this one is going to be between, let's say, 300 and 400. So that is just about double the price for the Bambino, and that's that. All right, next we're going to do a demo, but before we do that, let's just take a look and see which group head might be warmer in standby. Because you ideally would like to have a group head that's warm, and this one I can feel is not warm, and this one is not warm either. So the Dedica looks like room temperature, about 25 Celsius. 25 Celsius. And for that reason, you always want to let an empty shot through first. The Sage is slightly colder, probably because there's more mass to the portafilter. It's at 22.7 degrees. The group head at the top is also 22.8 degrees. So this one is actually 2 degrees colder than this one, but neither of them are heated. So I would give them neutral points on that. Let's move on to the demo portion of the video. The first thing we're going to do is pull a couple of empty shots in both of them. All right, let's see what kind of difference that made here with the temperatures. So now we're looking at a temperature of 37 degrees on the Dedica and 30 degrees on the Sage. So let's go ahead and pull one more empty shot. Let's see what difference that made. Here we're up to about 40 degrees, and here we are at 33 degrees. All right, so you can see that it does help to run a couple of empty shots through there. It did bring them up about 10 to 15 degrees, and now we can get started with our espresso preparation. Let's go ahead and use the Dedica first. So what we're going to do is measure out 15 grams, and we're going to use freshly roasted beans. 15.0, and we're going to use this handy dandy spezialita here. I got a baffle on it now because there is quite a bit of retention here. It retains based on humidity of the air and probably the density of the bean, about 1 to 2 grams in here. So I like to blow it out at the end. So that way we get 14.4 out in this case, and we get the rest. And now we got our 15.0 back. I'll just distribute the grounds a little bit, give it a good tamp. And here we go. That one is a little messy, but still looks good. You can see here the Delonghi Dedica is still dripping, and that is something that you're not going to have on the Bambino. So let's go ahead and prepare the Bambino once. Same procedure. For tamping the Bambino, I've got a handy dandy Norm core tamper, 53 millimeter. That works really good. And again, here we go. Stop it right at 30 grams. And you should have been able to hear that click, and that is the 3-way solenoid valve of the Bambino closing. Let's test out the espresso. It's quite good. It is pretty well rounded, maybe just slightly under extracted. Could maybe be a little hotter, but then again, this has also been sitting for a couple of minutes. And from the Bambino, it's a very similar flavor profile. This might have just a little bit more acidity to it. So I do believe that this one actually extracted a little bit hotter because I feel a little bit less acidity in that extraction. But they're both very similar. They're both thermoblock based, which means that they're very fast, but they have the disadvantage that they don't hold their heat too steady and they don't hold their heat up very high. And in particular, when you're using a closed portafilter like this one, and in particular, when the espresso is hitting the plastic first inside, well then it's going to cool down even more. That's why I like to run this one here with an open portafilter and an unpressurized basket, because the espresso can just go directly into the cup without interfacing with anything else that's cooler. Let's move on to steaming. So I'm cheating a little bit on this one because I did remove the panarello, but it doesn't cost you anything to do that. All you have to invest is a little cable tie to hold it on there, because otherwise it will pop off. But then you can texture milk pretty well. I'm going to try to do it backwards today. What's nice with this type of wand is you can purge it. So you just want to get a swirl going pretty well. Some people call it a vortex. You just want it to spin round and round. It's a little bit easier when you're not doing it backwards, but I think we got something workable here. And when it gets too hot to touch, then you just stop. I would say that's about now. So you can see pretty nice creamy milk. Let's wipe that off right away. And I'm just going to pour it here to help distribute the milk better. There you got a little bit of a feather. It's definitely very, very creamy. You can see that. Oof, perfect. Okay. There we got a cappuccino made from the Delonghi Dedica, if you can see that. Let's move on to the Bambino. We're going to do this the same way. Steaming on the Bambino is really its big advantage. This is amazing. So I'm just going to press the steam button here. That way I can purge it. And now I am going to start it up, and you'll see just how easy it is to steam milk with this machine. Has a lot of pressure. So there's this little corner here that doesn't want to get incorporated, but I think it's going to work out anyway pretty well. Okay, that's hot enough. I'll wipe that off. And now here comes the auto purge. That turned out a little too frothy, as it were. That's going to be hard for latte art, but we're going to try anyway. Yeah, some kind of a feather. Okay, so as you can hopefully see here, they both provide really nice, fine porous foam with a little practice. So there's really nothing to complain about with either one of these machines. Now, as for the facet, which one is better? Which one is more ergonomic? That's something that you guys are going to have to decide for yourselves. I like the Delonghi very much for its compact size, for its ability to do what it can at its price point. It's excellent, with a couple of modifications, like the bottomless portafilter and an unpressurized basket. It works really well. And the Bambino, on the other hand, is nice because the steamer is really easy to use. It's got a powerful 4-hole tipped steam wand. It's got the 3-way solenoid valve. It's got a nicer feeling portafilter. And if you look at the design on either one, that's just something subjective. So you have to think to yourself, which design do I prefer? The Dedica or the Bambino? This one is designed, by the way, in Italy, and this one is designed in Australia. Now, as far as price goes, that might be really the deciding factor here. This one you can get, depending on the market, for about half the price of this one. So that's where you got to make your decision. Which features do you like more between these two models, and what do you want to spend? Alright guys, I hope that this video was helpful for you, and if so, please give it a like and check out my other videos. If you like what you see, subscribe to the channel. It's totally free. Until next time, I say happy coffee drinking and happy cappuccino drinking. Bye now.